Have we hit rock bottom yet? Vikings shut out for the first time in 296 games. They dropped to 4-8 in Seattle, 26-0. That's your final. Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman got your full deep dive instant reaction coming up next. But first, let's meet the crew.
I'm Sam Ekstrom, and I'm dead inside.
I'm Luke Braun. Are we ready to stop asking me if it can get worse yet?
Skol! It's the Viking Squad. Everything Minnesota Vikings every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the land of 10,000 lakes. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to gear up. The Viking Squad show starts now.
What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Viking Squad show. 60 minutes of instant reaction deep dive, including the biggest turning points, plus the Max Brosmer experience. How did that go? Before we get into it, thanks so much for making the Viking Squad show your first listen of the day. Thanks for making Locked On #1 sports podcast network. Plus, a quick reminder, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Another quick reminder, go check out this guy right here, right after this episode. Luke Braun over on Locked On Vikings, pumping out all the daily content each and every day. Speaking of, good segue, Luke Braun, you're batting leadoff today. You're pinch hitting for Ron as we wait for him. The Max Brosmer experience, chapter 1, page 1. There you go. 4 interceptions on the day, including that pick 6 that'll probably be It'll probably be played in Seahawks archives, I'm assuming, for the next decade or two. But as you watch this thing unfold the way it did, was this about what you expected? Was there any positives compared to what we've seen with J.J. McCarthy? And you know, I guess part 2 of this, the offense as a whole, just kind of big picture 5D view. What is the common denominators that just continues to plague them the most? I feel like drops has to be somewhere on that list, I would imagine.
Well, who's in charge, Luke? I mean, it's everything is bad. That means you prepared the team poorly. And this has been a poorly prepared team for the whole year, right? Like they're not ready to play NFL football. They're not playing NFL football. This is a historically bad offense, and that's not a hyperbolic way of thinking. This is literally making history. There are a lot of ways you can statistically break this down. I'm sure we'll get into it tomorrow. I'm sure Arif will have a lot of fun stats on how bad this is. Mm-hmm. But what I'll say is, y'all, I really hope you didn't convince yourself that you were about to see the next coming of Brock Purdy. I really hope you didn't think that we were going to see an undrafted rookie that did not show a great grasp of the offense in the preseason. He played okay and had some nice moments, but he didn't show that he was like, had it down like a veteran. I hope you didn't hear Kevin O'Connell lie about how ready a player was for the 900th time and believe that this was going to be something. That no part of this was shocking to me. And I'm going to be just a little bit extra spicy about it because people were pretty smug to me when I was saying maybe this guy wasn't going to be the answer to the Vikings' problems. Maybe this was going to be pretty bad that he has to go out this early before he's even remotely ready. And so to the people that thought that they were that they really had me over the coals on that one, shove off.
Sam, were you a believer? Did you buy into the Brock Purdy, the Trey Lance, the first-round pick? But here comes Brock Purdy. He ends up being our guy, KOC, the quarterback whisperer, so on and so forth. We knew it was going to be a tough matchup for any quarterback to make their first start in Seattle against that daunting defense. But, just compare and contrast what we've seen with J.J. McCarthy, historically bad, as we know, and again, the common denominators with Max Brosmer. Any good takeaways there? Is about what you expected, or did it in fact get even worse?
Well, let me say this. The 49ers did not know they had Brock Purdy until they saw Brock Purdy, right? So the Vikings did the right thing, and now they know. Now they know that this is not a special Cinderella story that is going to lead them to a triumphant, unexpected playoff berth. This was the same thing we've seen with J.J. McCarthy. There was, once again, very little to build on. Inaccuracy, missing high, throwing behind, taking sacks on third down when you can't take sacks, forcing balls into windows that aren't there. exactly the same that we've seen. So the Vikings weren't sitting on a diamond in the rough. I don't know if Brosmer gets another chance to build on it. That's a really tough environment to debut, I will say. I had higher expectations. I thought there would be some benefit to being, 3 years more mature, having more than double the amount of college pass attempts. And then the kiss of death this week was apparently when Kevin O'Connell said that the ball didn't touch the ground in
Never
practice.
dropped. Never
How
touched
many
the
good
grass.
practices are there going to be for these quarterbacks?
How many times did a defender catch the ball during practice? Maybe that's what we should ask.
Yeah, well, yeah. I would say let's look at the defensive issues here, but the defense was actually pretty good today. I can't find a solitary moment in that performance offensively that I can say, great, let's build on that. The best play offensively today was the Jalen Naylor or forced fumble and recovery.
That's your new cornerback 4 next year. Come on. Who's kidding who?
That was Shaq. Yeah. Give him Shaq.
He's forced more turnovers than Byron Murphy.
Yeah, it's too bad because there was one last opportunity to kind of get revved up as a fan base, to get behind something.
Yeah.
And now you're down to 5 games, right? Like at first it was this 10-game sample of JJ McCarthy. All right, 10 games to see what he's got. Then it was 8. Then it was 6, and he got hurt. Now it's 5 or maybe even 4. We don't know if he plays next week. They're running out of time to glean anything from this season or build on anything. A complete organizational disaster.
It felt like right away, the first drive or two, he was like getting the ball out very quickly, like confident in his like once he hit that back foot. And I think you heard Pam Oliver on the sideline talk about KOC actually said, no, he's too sped up. He's moving too fast. Things are moving too fast.
Right. He's rushing because the game is completely overwhelming to him.
Right. Exactly. And I don't know, maybe just compared to McCarthy, the entire operation. And I'm talking early on. I'm talking like my first just kind of, just armchair quarterback. Let's watch these first drives or two and just see how the offense looked. Compared to McCarthy, the entire operation did feel faster, like on pace anyways. But again, Luke, clearly that doesn't equate to good football as we saw today.
No, and like you knew how overwhelmed he was. Here's what gets me about this one. I didn't expect Max Brosmer to come in and play well. If he did and he was better than we thought, okay, that's great. Anything can happen in the NFL. But no part of this should be that surprising. And that means it shouldn't be that surprising to O'Connell either. And he comes in at halftime and he talks about how overwhelmed the quarterback is, and the game's moving way too fast for him. And that's all understandable. It's your first start. You're in a totally, a tough place to play against a good defense. Like all of that is understandable. And it's really hard for me to hang a bunch of this on Max Brosmer's shoulders. Somebody in the chat said, I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for the kid too. This is a terrible situation. How does O'Connell keep trotting him out there at halftime when he's overwhelmed? He can't do any of this. Well, look, John Wolford is not a good quarterback, but at least he knows what he's looking at. He has played in this building before. And how could they be so sure they just give Max Brosmer the whole game? This is not someone you invested in where the reps matter. Mm-hmm. This is not helping him. Let him go to the bench and think about what he's done, right? Let him reflect on the experience, try to grow from it over the week and watch the tape over and over and try to make a better career out of it. And let an experienced quarterback come in and at least do something reasonable.
Yeah.
It's so funny. We played that game last week about how bad that JJ McCarthy game was and was this game worse or not? This one was worse than all of them. Worse than all of them. Worse than the Sam Darnold seeing ghosts game. Worse.
As Ron Johnson jumps in here. Yeah, as Ron Johnson jumps in here. We're talking about the Max Brosmer experience here, Ron, just at the top, our knee-jerk reaction. And again, this game just ended a couple minutes ago, but, without watching the film or the All-22 back, just from what you saw, the way the game unfolded, the way it did, Ron, about what you expected, worse, any positives at all compared to the JJ McCarthy experience that we've obviously seen come to fruition the last few weeks? Just kind of your overall top to bottom takeaways on the Max Brosmer.
Yeah, so can you guys hear me? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good. Yep.
Yeah, so the one thing I looked at was, one, I wanted him to succeed. So I'm looking at this from a very, very like little brother type of perspective, right? This is my guy from the Gophers. This is, a guy that I really wanted to succeed. A guy that I was hoping would throw for 200 plus yards. But when you look at 19 for 30, 126 yards and 4 interceptions, here's where I go with this. The first interception, game just was moving too fast. He wasn't prepared for that moment. He should have known. Like, I get the sentiment, fourth down, right? You're thinking you're losing the ball anyway. Heave it up. The problem is he didn't heave it up. He threw it sideways. The goal is throw it up to the end zone, but in that grasp, in that moment, just take the sack. So that's all on him. But aside from that, 4th and 1, why aren't we just running the ball? So that's the first thing. But I can't. The play still happened. Still on Brosmer. The next one, when you think about, the one that Justin Jefferson hit off his chest, right? So is that on Max Brosmer? Probably not. DB makes a play. That's interception there. The one through Jalen Naylor's hands. Again, it was high, but unless the TV copy was lying to me, it looks like it goes through his hands and he doesn't close his hands quick enough. Now, was it high? Yes. Was he going to get hit? No. I don't know if it was above his fingertips because from the camera angle I looked at, it looked like it went through his hands. But again, high throw, probably should have just dropped it off. Don't go for the big play. I broke down a bunch of Sam Darnold plays for the pregame show, and the biggest difference in his dig routes at that depth versus Max Brosmer's was the underneath coverage. Like the Seahawks were dropping back. The Vikings never established the run to force the linebackers to stay within a drop hook area because we don't drop the ball off or hook it up to the tight ends and running backs often. Whereas other teams know the Seahawks are willing to drop it off quick to somebody like Zach Charbonnet or one of the tight ends and just take what the defense gives them. The other side of that, the game did move too fast. The last interception was the seam route. It's cover 4, so that outside corner, he's playing 1 to 2. There's nothing forcing him to stay with 1 because he has eyes to the quarterback. Just a bad concept play with a bad throw. And you compound that becomes another interception. And so when I look at the experience right away, it's just a learning experience for him. Recognize the coverage, know where you have to go with the ball. Everything doesn't have to end up down the field. And that's what it felt. It felt like he was pressing the ball down the field too much versus just, look, the defense is not giving you anything. Just take the underneath stuff. And that's why the Seahawks are good, though, is because they don't end up in third down passing situations a lot. Whereas again, I bought that stat up. I don't know if I brought it up with Sam, but I did on the pregame show. When you look at the way the Seahawks attack first down, that goes back to 1995. Gary Kubiak from 1995 to 2002 had the #1 first down efficient offense. You go, where did Gary Kubiak go? Ravens, great on first down. Vikings 2020, great on first down. They do not want to end up in third down passing situations. And I don't know why Kevin O'Connell is not playing that way. It just feels like a lot of the first down plays for him don't really make sense often, or it's just not working. I don't know which one it is.
Let me ask you this, Ron, just real quick, just to touch on that. Blame chart, right? I mean, when you look at KOC's young quarterbacks, here's Scott Pilgrim 10. KOC's young quarterback, Jaron Hall. Okay, day 3 pick, though. JJM, top 10 pick, Max Brosmer, UDFA. So let's keep that in mind. But obviously, KOC has had by far the most success with veterans, right? Kirk Cousins, even Sam Darnold last year. You could even say Carson Wentz, of all the 3 quarterbacks that have played this year, probably the most efficient, I guess, which, again, low-hanging fruit, low bar there. But blame chart-wise, is how much, I guess, are you putting on the KOC kind of, blame chart, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, as far as just the actual game plans that you've seen? Not just this week, though, but once JJM, right, McCarthy got healthy the last 2 weeks as well.
Yeah, after watching Max Brosmer in this offense, I can't put it on J.J. McCarthy. I think there's a lack of quick game. Like when you watch the Seahawks get the ball out of their hands quick to Jackson Smith and Jigba, you watch them get the ball out their hands to Cooper Kupp. It's quick game, right? It's out routes. It's hitches. It's hitches with corners behind it or curls, like curling behind an out route. If the guy drops to take away your curl route, just throw the out. But you see that on the snap. We don't run quick game. Like we don't run slant. Like the slant on, what was it, 3rd and 10, I think? It was a slant route and the dude broke the tackle because I think Harrison Smith or somebody missed the tackle. I can't remember who it was, but it was a slant route. And he ended up getting the first down, right? They're not trying to always go 10 yards or 5 yards or a yard past the sticks. It's like, hey, let me run a 7-yard slant. And then, hey, if I get a first down, I get a first down. If not, let me live to kick another day. But you're not allowing the defensive line to just pin their ears back and get after you. But again, today was not a Seattle awesome day for them. Brian Flores understood first down was their best down, and they didn't want to end up in 3rd and long. And he attacked them on first down. On the pregame show, that was my key to the game in the 3-minute drill, was on first down. Brian Flores can't treat it like a true first down. He has to treat it like a money down, because that's the money down for the Seahawks. And Brian Flores attacked on first down. Like, he was running his twists and stunts. He wasn't playing basic coverages on first down. And that's where, if you look at the 49ers game, if you look at the Rams game, a lot of those teams on first down were playing pretty basic. The Jags, same thing. The Jags on first down, I don't know what they were doing half the time. But when you look at that, the way the Vikings did it, they don't run quick game. And I think that's what it boils down to, is like, you can't put young quarterbacks out there and not run quick game. Like, or just go no huddle for a little bit and see what happens. But in huddle, it's quick. Nothing is like long developing. You're letting your offensive line get to the line and then just go. Quick blocks, 2 seconds, get rid of the ball. We don't have that.
Luke, anything else to add on to that? Yeah, before we go to segment 2, just as far as what KOC, what you're seeing, I mean, where the frustration stems from, I guess, with KOC from a substance standpoint. What's like the top 1 or 2 things that you're pulling your hair out when it comes to KOC, trying to draw up these game plans week to week?
We lost Braun's audio.
Might be muted, or there you go.
We back?
Yep. Hello.
Okay, so I think the whole thing comes down to Kevin O'Connell just has always believed in his players a little bit too much. And that's, very sweet. It's very nice. He believes in people. It's definitely different from Zimmer, who would just like come onto the podium and say, like, Anthony Barr, stop trying. But at a certain point, you have to recognize that you are putting people in ridiculous situations. And then because you like the cut of their jib, you think they're just going to succeed. That has been so much of what has happened with McCarthy, has been just asking way too much of the kid and coaching him way too much and getting him to think about way too many things at the same time. And then it all falls apart. And I think this is the most egregious example of it. You can't have, like, that 4th and 1 play call is going to live in my mind forever. I don't mind going for that 4th and 1 at all. I don't think field goals win this game for you when you're down that close to the red zone. Like, you're never going to get that close again. And they didn't. But when your play call requires the quarterback to step out of the stance, fake play action, turn his hips, sprint the other way, and make a throw on the run, you are asking way too much of Max Brosmer. You got to make somebody else do something. You can't ask Brosmer to do that physically difficult of a thing when you know, and I know he knew because he told Pam Oliver, that this dude is drowning out there. And you're still asking him to do all that stuff because you like the cut of his jib and I believe in him and he can do it. Well, you shouldn't believe in him that much. Maybe the dude you have just sucks, and they have just outwardly refused to recognize when a dude sucks, and that they have to protect those players that are struggling. You have to make things easier for the guy, not add 10 million different fakes so that maybe you can manipulate the linebacker and make the throw slightly more open, but it makes it 10 times harder for everybody to execute. This has happened with Justin School, has been asked to do way too much. Brandel and Juergens have been asked to do way too much. Guys on defense too. This extends to the defense to some degree too. Have been asked to do more than they are capable of doing. This team has no idea how good their players are. I've been saying that all year. And one of the other side effects is you go, oh yeah, Max can do that. No, he freaking can't.
Lots more to get into. The defense, maybe a silver lining today with 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, plus the biggest turning points as well. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, now with more than 10 million members to date. For me, my money, it's just by far the easiest and the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports, you watch your favorite players. It's so simple. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. We're officially in crunch time right now, the NFL season. Things are really starting to heat up, whether it's anytime touchdowns, receptions, tackles, sacks, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, don't forget, Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay. Quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Right now, download the Prize Picks app. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's win or lose. Any $5 lineup, you're getting $50 instantly with promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, want to jump into the biggest turning points from this one. When you think back to, the deciding momentum changer, that back-breaking player drive. Obviously, Luke touched on it right before we went to break. The pick six on 4th and 1. It's at minimum a 10-point swing, maybe a 14-point swing if you somehow get 4 or 5 yards and score a touchdown there. That's an easy one for sure. Really felt like from that point on, it was just like such a big backbreaker. So early in the game, so much time left. But just all the momentum just completely sucked out of the Vikings sideline at that point. Kind of similar, actually, guys, to the Price muff punt last week in Green Bay with like the entire second half still to be played. But that was obviously a monster turning point. What else comes to your mind, top of your head? When was it and why? What sticks out the most right now? Oh, Sam, you're muted.
Today, the audio performance today is similar to the Vikings offense. That's about how
preseason for everybody
it is.
We think we're better than we are. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we don't know how good our talent is on this show. We're still in the evaluation stage. The fumble in the second half, I guess, of Jones where he hurts the shoulder on the play, that wiped away all optimism or any optimism. But how about early in the game where, obviously you can set a tone, you can build some confidence. The way your defense played, a lead at any point would have looked pretty good and maybe kept you in it for a long time. And there were 3 intermediate throws that Max Brosmer makes. He misses Addison on the sideline for an easy first down. He has a drop by Addison over the middle, throws it behind Justin Jefferson, who gets his hands on it. Then I think he overthrew Jefferson at one point too. There were a handful of throws that could have moved the chains, built some confidence, created some rhythm, given the defense a little more of a break, none of which came to fruition. Missed opportunities early in the game. And whenever you're a double-digit underdog and you don't take advantage of those obvious hinge points in the game, it was like Michigan taking on Ohio State. Like Michigan breaks off a big play, they settle for a field goal. Then they get a takeaway, settle for a field goal. And you knew at that point, well, they had their chance. They had their chance to throw a punch, and Ohio State withstood it, and here they go. And that's kind of how I felt today. I said, well, the Vikings couldn't take advantage of it, the plays that were there early. They couldn't take advantage of the giveaway in the red zone, which how many times do the Vikings have a takeaway this year, that part of the field? It never happens, and they get 0 points and, in fact, give 7 back the other way. The game was over as Ernest Jones was running down the field.
Ron, I know you got to bounce here in a couple minutes. Let me switch gears instead of the biggest turning point because Sam just called out a couple of the top ones, plus we know that pick six. Back to the blame chart here. Let's take the quarterback out of the equation and the head coach here. Running game, chicken or the egg is the offensive line with a bunch of backups in this week and really all season for that matter. Justin Skule, though, Blake Brandel in at guard for Donovan Jackson. Ryan Kelly left, I think, early fourth quarter. The drops by the wide receivers, again, continue to play the offense. What is next on the list after the quarterback and KOC?
Oh, like, is there? I don't know what else we can blame. Like, the defense is playing their butt off. Like, they did everything they could do. They gave up a touchdown late in the game. I got to look at the play calling. Like, on first and second down, they have the second least amount of plays run in the NFL. That makes no sense. And then when you look at third down, they are 32nd in yards gained per play. Like, and this is before, it's probably going to be worse after this week. Like, when this week's stats are finally uploaded and, the NFL make sure they accumulate and get all the stats turned in, 3.3 yards per play on third down is 32nd. 33.6% of those plays have resulted in a first down or a touchdown, which is 31st. 46 first downs, which is tied for 31st. So 8 interceptions, the most, 20 sacks, 31st. Like, it's everything. Like, everything with that offense right now just doesn't work. I go back to how would I eliminate sacks? I'd run the ball and run quick game. I'd run more screens. Like, I would come up with plays that are more behind. I mean, you have Miles Price, who is a jitterbug. They don't even think about using him. When you see the Seahawks use their returner on offense, literally, it's like, just do what they just did. They're handing it off to one of the fastest guys on the field that can make people miss. Give it to Miles Price in space. Like, we have not run one receiver screen to him. I just don't understand. And I don't know if Luke said it or one of the Luke said it, or maybe even Sam, but I do feel like KLC wants to out scheme everybody. Like he wants it to be his offense versus his players. Like if I were to say I won the game and all I did was throw 5-yard routes and my receivers absolutely killed it. I threw fade routes and let them go 50-50 balls and win in one-on-one coverage. If you know it's quarters, you have to run a quarters beater on the outside, which is a quick giant, which is a smaller comeback, and then you send the seams. You can't send 4 verticals on quarters because there's no bender on that. Somebody has to be the bender, and you don't see the bender. The bender usually is middle of the field open. So if I have 4 verticals, one of the guys, either the receiver or the tight end, is the bender. And what he's doing, he's reading. If they stay wide, I'm going to bend it. That's my throw. If they go to cover 3, then I'm going to stay on the seam and I'm going to beat those 2. You can't throw the seam in quarters. So again, what is the point of that? One guy should have run a comeback and he's wide open because that corner was playing robber. Like he was basically saying, I'm going to rob the seam and I'm going to hold the outside guy. Nobody threatened my deep quarter. So let me just go over here and mess with this guy because I know I got somebody in the flat that's going to take care of a flat route. Throw an in-between route, like a 12-yard or 14-yard comeback. We called it a giant. It's wide open in quarters because they're falling off. So, I mean, I can't blame anybody else. I mean, who do I blame? The referees? No, they didn't make any mistakes today. Do I blame the weather? Nope, it wasn't raining. Like, I don't know who else to blame in this situation because the defense did everything they could do to keep the game close until it wasn't.
I don't know if you got a bounce or not, but yeah,
before you go, I have a question, Ron. Like, as somebody who covered Brosmer last year with the Gophers, my understanding is he was not this inaccurate. This was way more inaccurate than he was in college. So, what are they teaching these guys? Because I could say the same about McCarthy and Michigan, and even like the little that we saw of him last year, he wasn't this inaccurate. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I feel as though their ability to develop young quarterbacks, well, they're making these guys worse. Josh McCown, what do you do here?
Yeah, so that question, I'm gonna have to text Max and maybe keep it off record, but I really don't know the answer to that. Like I was gonna actually text Josh McCown later this week and just kind of ask him what does he see from Max. But here's where I think I don't think it's so much the quarterback coach because KLC runs the quarterbacks. We know that. Josh McCown is just kind of
like who's getting them technique.
Yeah, it's like KLC. Josh McCown
way too hard. Like who's
Josh McCown is doing
focusing on other stuff.
Yeah, Josh McCown is doing what KLC wants him to do. And so when you think about how KLC talks about rewiring and all this other stuff. I think the biggest thing is like Greg Olsen brought up that throw, the interception. You can't make that throw with that much space between, like if it's 3-4 yards between linebacker and seam, you can't make that throw. And so I think it's more like maybe who are they telling them they need to throw it to on this player? What are they trying to hit versus just read it? Just read the play. Don't give me any tips. Just tell me to read it. Here's where I go cover 2. Here's where I go cover 4. Here's where I go in man. Done. If I don't know the coverage, then I don't deserve to be an NFL quarterback. And I think that's the problem. It might be too much hand holding and spoon feeding with these young quarterbacks versus baptize them. And if they can't do it, then you go get a veteran. They can. And I think that's the key because Carson Wentz looked fine, I thought, early on. I just think some of the play calling for him, too, was you're asking your offensive line to do stuff they can't do.
Appreciate you, Ron. I don't know when you got to bounce. If you got to bounce here soon, at 3 Ron Johnson. There he goes. At 3 Ron Johnson. Give him a follow on X. And, of course, check him out every Tuesday on the Ron Johnson Show. Let's get into a fun little new graphic that we got before we hit over to segment 3 and get to the defense. Maybe glass half full.
Since hindsight is always 20/20, let's deliver today's second guess.
Probably the most fun I'll have on this show. I just wanted to play the new graphic there. Biggest second guess from today's game. Is it just as easy as Max Brosmer was just not prepared and ready to start his first NFL game, Luke?
Yeah, I think the easiest is that at some point John Wolford would have gone in. Should have gone in. Look, if Brosmer was playing great in practice and he was, showing you everything you needed to see, and then the real bullets flew and it turned out to not be as real as you thought, I can sort of understand that. But at some point, every single person on their couch could understand that this was never going to get better with Brosmer, that he wasn't going to work through it, that you weren't going to have a chance to win the game. And there were points where, hey, it's 13-0. Figure one thing out, get one drive, make a score, and you got a game here. And they just kind of kept trotting it out I don't know if I know John Wolford knows the playbook. It's the same playbook as they had at the Rams. Like, he's played this offense before. I think you needed to be more willing to protect your young, vulnerable, impressionable players by getting them out of that situation. You know what? If this just needs to be someone limping to the end, let John Wolford do it so that, you're not overwhelming Brosmer more, but you can't let this get to 4 interceptions. There's been 8 people in Vikings history that have thrown 4 interceptions. 3 of them have been under Kevin O'Connell because he just won't pull the guy. There has to be a point.
O'Connell's pulled Dobbs. Is the Raiders game? Is that the only pull due to performance in the KOC era that you can recall?
I think so. And
that was the 0-0 Vegas game again, where you probably weren't going to score unless you put Nick Mullins in.
And we've seen several games from all 3 quarterbacks this year that were worse than that.
At that point in that season, that was the right move because you were a playoff team and you still should have been a playoff team.
Darren Hall Packers, somebody in the chat.
Right.
That one too.
Thank you. Which was 3 weeks later. I disagree. You had 23 plays in the first half. That is too little. That is too small a sample size for me to just pack it in and say, well, we gave it a shot. Let's yank the kid. And this season is gone. This is now a developmental season. This is a season to learn what you have. I think it was totally appropriate to put him back in and maybe Luke, one drive earlier. Maybe you pull him one drive earlier in the fourth quarter and don't put him out for the 4th interception or whatever. I'm okay with him playing the bulk of the football game. I would say, for a second guess, what if you could have just gone 3 and out every time and just punted and not thrown interceptions? Because if you look at the team statistics in this game, the Seahawks offense was as bad as the Vikings offense. It was as bad. The Vikings defense was unbelievable today. If you look at the yards per play, yards per pass attempt, yards per rush, and the Vikings defense played phenomenally. Had Darnold rattled, they did exactly what they needed to do. If you could just not turn the ball over 5 times, could have just held serve. It could have been like the endless tennis match of volleying back and forth with nobody scoring. The defense has to be so frustrated looking up at the scoreboard and saying, we played like that and we lost by 26. Are you kidding me? They deserve so much better today. That's all.
Good seg. That's all I got. Good segue. Let's go into a quick break, and then I want to touch on this defense because you're right, Sam. They deserve some flowers and spotlight and love. Plenty more deep dive, including the defense. What we loved, what we hated from today. Stock up, stock down as well. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode also brought to us by Game Time. The Vikings season. We're in crunch time now. Things are getting intense, tailgate rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's really nothing like it, but let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. You got the endless queues. You got the hidden fees, price jumping when you check out. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. By far the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. No joke. Faster, cheaper, way less stressful than any other way I've ever bought tickets before. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Okay, you touched on the defense there. Real quick before we get to the defense, injuries, week 13 of the NFL season, Donovan Jackson ruled out with the ankle. Darisaw was questionable coming in. He's ruled out. In comes Justin Skule. Aaron Jones left with the stinger. Did he come back? Because I saw him moving around on the sideline. I just didn't see him back out on the field. I saw Jordan Mason.
No. And he said in the locker room, it's the same AC joint sprain he's been dealing with.
Okay. Yeah, nasty hit, man.
Throw it on the list of players rush back from injury for the Vikings to continue their losing streak, only to re-aggravate those injuries and make them worse.
Yeah, well, if you drafted well and had some depth, maybe you could, avoid that problem. And then what was the other injury? There was another
Ryan
injury.
Kelly hip.
Ryan Kelly. Thank you. Yeah, Ryan
Hip
Kelly.
injury.
Hip flexor, according to Oklahoma.
So you like this is oversimplifying it and letting too many people off the hook, but this team can't block. This team has no continuity. This team has no blocking capability in the run or pass. Maybe that's even doing a disservice to how well they've run the ball on a per play basis the past couple of weeks. Like the run game is a non-factor because of how feeble your pass game is. But if you had 5 offensive linemen, the same 5 offensive linemen, I don't care which 5 offensive linemen, just the same 5 playing game in and game out, I think that you'd have a little more success. That's one of those what ifs that I think that'll be like a look back on the year and say, man, if we had just had the offensive line going, maybe things would have been different. That'll be one of the arguments we use in the offseason to say that's how next year could be better. Because it's awful. The attrition is awful.
It's been bad. That's a hard argument for me to make. There's so many problems. Can't catch either, by the way. How many drops did Addison have? Jefferson can't catch. I mean, these are previously reliable people who also can't catch. And I'm not really that sympathetic to they threw the ball too hard thing. Like, yeah, maybe you could take a little off it and make it easier for your receiver, and I'm sure they say that in the quarterback room. But it hits you in the catching parts. You should catch the ball when it hits you in the catching parts.
Yeah, don't tell Donald Driver or Torrey Holt.
That's exactly
whose ring
the
finger has got a 90
Donald Driver,
angle
exactly who I was thinking.
From Brett Favre.
They figured out how to catch Brett Favre's bullets in 2009. All right,
that's what I'm saying, man.
And that's a Bernard. Like that's not Jefferson.
And to your point, Luke. Yeah, we can't put all the blame on the offensive line. But is there one guy, and we don't know who's 100% healthy? Maybe nobody's ever 100% healthy, especially when you get this far into the season. But is there one guy you've been maybe more disappointed with than anybody else? Like for me, Will Fries has been fine. He's been fine. But for the money, I guess I'm also asking you to keep in mind how much money you're paying some of these guys as well. Will Fries, I feel like, and I'm not trying to be a prisoner of the moment, felt like he had a pretty below average game today without watching the all-22 back. But Will Fries seems to be maybe underwhelming me a lot more than I thought or anticipated coming in, especially given the big contract.
Yeah, I think the contract is a tough thing to square.
For sure. Yeah.
I think he's probably getting too much flack for that one sack, which I believe was a quick game. Mm-hmm. So when you do quick game and you got to jump set into somebody,
ball's supposed to be out.
The ball's got to be out. And it's pretty easy for a guy to go around you. It's just supposed to take too long. And there was an open slant and Brosmer just held it. And I think McCarthy's done that to the O-line a few times too. So I struggle to I'm not going to make this a Drew Samia situation where he becomes public enemy number one. But I think that kind of always happens with an O-lineman. There's always one. For me, they needed to have a better plan than just in school. They needed to put him in some kind of camp competition. They needed to realize that guy was not up to par even for a backup. He is personally holding me hostage. Like, it's horrible. I cannot watch that guy again. But contributing to that problem is that they rushed Darrisaw back from his knee injury, and now he's not 100%. Now he's got another thing on the foot, and Donovan Jackson hasn't been able to stay healthy, and all that hurts it as well, which kind of helps me not maybe panic too much about Chris Cooper. He's working with some really bad talent. They should have done a better job of bringing guys in for him.
Yeah.
But I guess who the guy that's really worrying me a little bit. It's Brian O'Neill. He has taken way too many L's, and now he's on the wrong side of 30. He's coming off his own knee problems. I think that maybe I don't know how much more we get out of him, how much more quality ball he has left in him, and even if it's only 1 or 2 years, you just kind of got to start thinking about the replacement now, anyways.
For sure.
That's probably where I go. Everybody else, it's been guys are hurt all the time. I don't know. Blake Brandel's a bad center. Yeah, we know. Not a lot to take away from that.
O'Neal contract expiring next year, so that could be a non-extension in the offseason. Let him play it out. Let him walk.
Yeah. Walter Rouse, is he hurt? Just speaking of Justin Skule, just how bad he's been. I know that was an option talked about anyways. And even maybe got a few reps at left tackle. Yeah, it's just crazy to think that
probably
he's
a
somehow worse.
The Skules McCarthy might just be worse.
This team doesn't know how to develop young talent, Luke. Give young talent playing.
So just sign veterans.
Yeah. Hey,
well,
Dallas Turner had a day. Okay.
Let's talk about the defense. Let's talk about the defense. 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 4 of them by Eric Wilson. He seems like a guy that you're going to want back next year for sure, at least in this Brian Flores defense. 6 passes defended, 5 quarterbacks hits. Sam Darnold was in quarterback jail for most of the day, man. Defense balled out. This is the defense that we expected heading into the year for sure. And a lot of love in the chat right now for Dallas Turner. He definitely had probably his best game of the season. It felt like 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 1 pass deflection, 3 quarterback hits. Talk to me about the defense highlights. Stock up. What'd you love the most?
Gotta love the Dallas Turner game. We're seeing what we wanted to see out of him. Young player into year 2, starting to have that major impact. 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and it wasn't a perfect day for the defense, but against the Seahawks and how they've obliterated people this year. I think honestly, it's just a shame to waste this one. That could have been a Dallas Turner breakout game. It was, I think, one of the better Flores schematic performances that we've seen in his tenure here, and it just completely goes to waste because you're so messed up on the other side. The thought flittered across my head for the first time, and I'm not the first person to have this thought, but it was the first time I really bought it. Was, man, why isn't this guy head coach? There's one side of the ball doing its job and one side of the ball not doing its job. I don't know. Maybe we should rethink who's in charge.
How about the secondary shutting down JSN? I'll be interested to see who got primary coverage on him throughout the game. I think Murphy did a pretty nice job from what I saw. His lowest output of the year, I want to say. Wonderful in the pass game, wonderful in the run game. Eric Wilson has been an enigma this season. And talk about, Luke, like there are some exceptions to your rule that the Vikings don't know how good their players are because they knew that Eric Wilson was better than Ivan Pace. And they made that move.
Yeah.
And they
Did
knew
they? Because they
Redmond,
took about 5 weeks to figure that out. I will say he did make a couple plays like as an edge rusher in this one, which is awesome. I think most of his best production still comes as an off-ball guy, but he set a really good edge once. I think he got in as like a backside guy once. I'd like Eric Wilson and Dallas Turner greatly outplaying Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel. It's not one I had on my bingo card.
Still can't get an interception.
I can't get that turnover. No, can't get that turnover. Would be nice for sure. Would be nice to get a turnover one of these days.
Technically, they get a turnover for the Jalen Naylor.
That's true.
You had to strip the two strip sacks from Turner. They recovered one of those 2, so they did break the streak. But now the new streak is that it's been 2 full games since they scored a touchdown.
That's 8 out of 12 with no first half touchdown this year.
8 out of 12 with no first half touchdown. Yeah. Man.
But no, it's fine, guys. We gotta just go back. We're gonna figure it out. Everyone's doing great. We had a great week of practice.
Jalen, go ahead, Sam.
So it's been a while since the Vikings have been in this position. Even in the 2023 season, we're not necessarily in tank mode. It's over mode when the month of December started. You were still playing for something until the final week. You were still in the playoff picture. So now that this thing's over, how do you want the next 5 weeks to play out? Like beyond the quarterback, you would love to get some answers at quarterback. But now, are you shutting injured guys down?
Like down? Yeah.
Are you developing Ty Felton more at the expense of someone like Jalen Naylor? Right? Like how do you handle the next 5 weeks? Is my question.
I think you got to do whatever makes some kind of reasonable offense. Because I think the worst thing that can happen, and I think it's where we are, is that you're forced to go into the offseason and just burn the playbook and try again. which is where we are right now. Whatever they've designed, whatever Wes Phillips cooked up in the lab is pretty like innately dysfunctional. You have to find something that you can execute and that works. You need some proof of concept. Okay, here can be our fastball. Here's a thing everyone's good at. Maybe we can build more of an offense around this or the principles of this. This guy can make that block. This guy can run that route. This quarterback can make that throw. You have to find something. And maybe in a fit of desperation, you go to your young guys like Felton or Miles Price, or see if maybe he can do something with the ball in his hands. And that's super interesting. And maybe you do that at the expense of guys you know aren't going to be here. I would probably shut down guys like Ryan Kelly or maybe somebody like O'Neal or Darisaw that you're worried could re-aggravate an injury. But I do also kind of have respect for like the NFL is different. Like you here on this panel, like I'm doing draft content already, like it's over. But the NFL, like the Vikings are not good. We saw the Bengals be 4-8 and make a run at the playoffs just last year. They're going to probably talk about that, invoke that exact example and say, come on, it's not over, fellas. Let's get one together. And I respect that they're going to do that. But I think you just have to find some momentum. Find anything that works, whether it's one play call or one page of the playbook or one kind of thing. Find something that works so that you aren't scoring 6 a game anymore. I mean, they're averaging 60 yards a game. It's the worst offense I've seen in my life statistically. And unless you saw, I think 1984 might be the only Viking season that gives it a run for its money.
Still just sitting with the 11th pick, Luke Inman, at 4-8. Not even in the top 10 yet. That's disappointing.
Yeah, hey, don't worry, Sam. We got a lot of games to go here. We got 5 more weeks here. We can definitely pump. Those are rookie numbers, as they say in Wolf on Wall Street. We can pump those numbers up. I'm honestly, no joke. I mean, you look at the schedule, and yeah, we got Washington next week. Maybe we can do a quick little preview at the end of the show. Spend a couple minutes on them. You got Jackson Dart and the Giants. You got Dallas, who's definitely in the thick of a playoff hunt there. And then one more division game as well. Which one am I forgetting? One more division game in there as well.
Packers and Lions.
Is it Lions? Okay, which obviously both those teams will be headhunting for sure. So you might steal a game versus Washington next week at home. I mean, Marcus Mariota has been atrocious. I think he's 1-4 in his 5 games starting for Washington this year. But honestly, Sam, it's tough to look at the schedule and see even maybe more than one win. So if you're looking at 5-11, that should definitely get you in that top 10, if not maybe even in that top 8, top 7 category. And, we're not there yet on this show, maybe sooner than later, but there is some very interesting quarterback prospects. I think that's the bigger question. Do you bail out on a guy like JJ McCarthy this soon after 5, 6, 7, 8 career starts and go draft another quarterback? Conversation for another day, obviously, but it's going to be very intriguing knowing that they're probably going to be very tempted, Sam, if they are sitting in the top 6, top 7 picks.
Well, when you look at Tennessee, they might have the number 1 pick. They've got Cam Ward.
If you're Tennessee, why not think about taking another quarterback? Has Cam Ward showed you anything?
I think Cam Ward might be the only thing in that whole franchise worth a damn.
Yeah. I mean, every franchise, like, we're talking about bailing on our guy, but we're looking at other franchises and saying, oh, well, they'll give him another year, surely. Like, clearly they will not.
It's like very normal to just give another year.
Yeah. 5 games left. I think that Brosmer could have earned another look with doing anything today. And it was, as you said, Luke, worse than we'd seen with McCarthy. Therefore, I think McCarthy's the favorite to start next week, get the next 5 games if he can stay healthy, which is increasingly becoming one of the big concerns with him, that this guy just can't stay on the field. Could
you guys imagine, like, the media, Kevin O'Connell comes up to the podium and he's like, we really like what Brosmer built on. We're going to go with him for the rest of the season after this one. Could you imagine, like...
I don't know. Honestly, the way this season has gone,
I haven't seen it yet.
The way this,
anything could happen because clearly they're just using dice to decide who should start or not. So anything could happen.
Wolford.
Any final little tidbits or glass half full? Any flowers you want to hand out for the defense? Jalen Redmond just continues to be just an absolute beast for sure. And then obviously in combination of Dallas Turner, Jonathan Grenard was exploding off that edge again. Who are the top guys you think just quickly knee-jerk reaction. You already talked about Darisaw maybe shutting him down, Brian O'Neill, Ryan Kelly. Who else, top of your head, do you think, if they get in that situation, they would say, you know what, let's think about shutting this guy down as well? Aaron Jones, perhaps, continues to be banged up week up.
Anybody you got a year left on the deal that you maybe are thinking about bringing back that you don't want to make an injury worse. Aaron Jones, you've already made the AC joint worse. Get him out of there. It's fine. It's over. You biffed it. It's done. I think anybody who's like dealing with a ding or a bang here or there. And then, Isaiah Rodgers, just for his own safety, because that man's made out of wet cardboard.
Yeah, good gravy. Kenneth Walker put him in the ozone layer today. Good gravy. Any last awards you want to hand out here, Sam, before we move on to segment 4?
I'm not giving out participation trophies today. I got nothing. Let's take the Vikings out of the in the hunt graphic, Fox.
Can we do that? Yeah. Sitting there with Atlanta at 4-8, who just lost to the Jets on a last-second field goal by Nick Folk from 55 yards out. That's the territory we're in. Not good.
Remember, I'm dead inside. I'm dead inside, Luke.
Dead inside.
I'm going to pay it off. I'm dead inside. There's no room for levity.
Don't go anywhere. Watching draft rankings can give him any joy because we're not top 10.
That's where we're at, folks. Don't go anywhere. What we'll be talking about tomorrow, that's all coming up after a quick break. All right. What we'll be talking about tomorrow morning, and I know, again, the A topic, once we let the dust settle, we'll be on the squad show tomorrow morning with our guy, Arif Hassan. Things are emotional always after the game. Once we take all that stuff out of the equation, what is the number one? There's a lot of different talking points we just touched on. What's the number one talking point after we, just watched what we did unfold the way it did?
I think we're trying to sort through how rational it is to be mad at Kevin O'Connell and whether, I think we have to look at other coaches that have a good reputation in the NFL and say, what did they do with bad quarterbacks? Right. Like Kyle Shanahan.
Well, they put John Wolford in and beat the Seahawks. This exact situation.
Can you jog my memory? How long has John Wolford been there since Wentz hurt the shoulder? When did Wolford get in the building?
He got in, I think, when Wentz hurt the shoulder to be the 3, and then you moved Brosmer up to 2, if I recall.
Okay.
But he's been familiar with O'Connell since LA. That's pretty familiar.
I'm not with you on the Wolford thing. I think we're weighing now this pattern of vet quarterback, things are good. Backup quarterbacks, things are bad. Vet quarterback, things are good. Backup quarterback, things are bad. That's O'Connell can refine a veteran's game and make it work if they know what they're looking at, as the phrase that you've used. And that seems to be more and more the truth of who Kevin O'Connell is. And I think we're going to spend a lot of time breaking down KOC tomorrow and beyond as we are J.J. McCarthy, Max Brosmer, and these quarterbacks that might be duds at this level. And a lot of them are, right? So do we throw out KOC if that's the case, and how do we know? How do we figure out if KOC is the problem or if they just have lemons? The evaluation of these lemons is the real concern, that they don't really know what they have.
Yeah, and I'll say to that, Sam, with my thing on Wolford, I think if it were just general, hey, the offense isn't producing, I get it. But it's because O'Connell admitted that he knew that Brosmer was not able to get the game to slow down, and he admitted that, to me, that says, okay, that this wasn't going to become a helpful development exercise. And that's why I say, hey, put somebody in that maybe knows what they're doing. But to your point, I don't think that would have won them the game. I just think it would have been a better decision. It would have led to maybe not the first shutout in 18 years. Maybe we would have been making a little less history today. But with any veteran, with Wentz, with McCarthy, with Brosmer, and I bet with Wolford, the reason that the offense is failing isn't different every time. It's they're holding the ball too long because the routes are too long. It's that the depth of the drop isn't matching up with the pass sets the O-line takes, or with the timing of the routes, or that there's too much stuff, at the top of the drop to do with either a fake toss or a pump fake or something. It's always the same thing. And to me, those are design flaws, which is a Wes Phillips thing. I think we know that, right? That Phillips is kind of in the lab. He's the one drawing up a lot of stuff. He's the one coming up with the idea. Hey, what if we tossed this way and then we threw a screen that way to try to influence the linebackers? Like that. I think that's a big part of his job. And so I think that I've been saying this now for a couple of weeks, that like after the season, Wes Phillips could be somebody who gets his walking papers alongside the other names that everybody's been calling for, like Matt Daniels or Josh McCown or, Chris Cooper, some people say, or whatever. But I think, to answer your question, Luke, like, what are we talking about tomorrow? We probably won't be talking about Brosmer too much for the rest of the week. I think, undrafted dude struggled, was really bad. We forget about it. It's kind of over. There's not a lot to discuss about it or argue about it, but it is about, okay, can these coaches actually figure out how to put together an NFL offense that isn't so bad at setting records? Can we maybe get to 100 yards and a half? Because everybody else can, including the Jets, the broken Raiders. Everybody can get 100 yards and a half but the Vikings. So can we figure that out, or are you maybe not cut out for this job?
It's tough with these last 5 games because, as we kind of touched on, you want to maybe evaluate, you want to maybe assess, diagnose some new players that haven't had a chance to, try some new things, right? See how some of these young guys look. I remember the last week of the year, I want to say it was 7 years ago, they plugged in Avante Collins, this swing tackle guard, and we're like, oh, okay, maybe Avante Collins could be a dude next year. This is kind of that time you start to maybe tinker a little bit. But to your point, Luke, they also have to do something with this offense. They cannot continue to go week in and week out with this pathetic of an offense. And I don't know how you fix things by going to guys that clearly are lower on the totem pole per se, right? More second team guys, and find some sort of quick answer, quick fix with a guy like, Ty Felton. I just don't see how that's going to add up and make much sense. So we'll see what direction they go these last 5 weeks. I'm assuming it will be more towards your point, Luke, that they're not going to start tinkering maybe until maybe the last week, maybe 2 weeks left. These next 3 weeks, if not more, I expect them to continue to try to step on the gas offensively and try to figure this thing out, because it's been clearly, a recipe for disaster, really going all the way back. You could say even the first month of the season. Any quick gambling updates? Anybody win any of their bets today? Anybody make any ground at all on Luke Brown?
I think we all lost money. I went a little bit too hard on my Darnold over, but I did win my Jefferson under.
Yeah, unders probably crushed today. Unders probably were the
there were less than 400 total yards in the game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of punting.
So are you trying to say something? So you went 0-2? Is that what you're saying?
I just needed that Naylor TD.
Yeah, you came close. Come
together. Fumble recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the highlights, which is kind of sad to say. That was one of the highlights. A 60-minute Viking postcast instant reaction show. That was one of the highlights. That's what we got today.
Yeah.
And the show with a real uplifting note. Most hopeless Viking season since
1984.
Yeah, 2013 is the first one that comes to mind, but
all of
even
those
that
years,
had
you went into December, you were thinking, hey, you're watching the playoff picture, you're playing with the scenarios on ESPN.com,
Yeah.
You're thinking maybe if these guys win, hey, who do the Packers play? Can we get the division from them? How many games back are we? What's their schedule like? This one, it's been a while since we've just kind of been straight up out of it and it's over. And even in like 2011, where you're 3-13, a bunch of those were like close, weird comebacks, and you felt like you were kind of still a decent team, and just the ball hadn't bounced your way over and over and over and over again. And you were out of the standings, but you felt like there was something you could kind of run back next year. And sure enough, they made the playoffs the next year. You had Adrian Peterson going for you. You had a defense you were excited about, but this feels worse. This doesn't feel like when you go into the offseason after an 8-8 season and go, well, hey, 2 more bounces and maybe we would have been in the playoffs, and maybe you just need to, it's like somebody said at the beginning of the show, we're a guard away. You can't feel that. You feel like everything needs to be thrown out and built back up from scratch. And I don't think the team has really felt that broken to bits since Les Steckel in the 80s and needing Jerry Burns to build this thing back up from, needing to bring Bud Grant in just to stabilize things.
Yeah, I think there are several things that give a fan base optimism. One of them is a stable quarterback returning. So, Matt Stafford has had these years where the team sucked around him, but hey, you've still got Stafford, right? There's also the concept of spending. Got a lot of cap space, big offseason. Vikings don't have either of those two. And the other one would be, well, we're just going to clean house, like full new staff, break it all down. And I don't think they're at that point either. Like, I don't think any of the avenues that teams take to change a hopeless season are routes that the Vikings can take. That's why it feels so bad, you guys.
So you're saying we're kind of stuck in this little purgatory situation here where they can't really commit to a rebuild at this point, but they also, clearly are so far away from being a real competitive, deep kind of playoff team right now.
Better things aren't possible. That's what I'm hearing here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's end on that. The Max Brosmer experience starts
Happy Thanksgiving
in shambles in his first start. Vikings shutout for the first time in 296 games, 26 rip. That's your final. They dropped to 4-8. Pull your mock draft boards out. I think it's about that time, guys. Huge shout out to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game. You guys were on fire tonight. Check out Ron, by the way, every Tuesday on the Ron Johnson Show at 3 Ron Johnson. Luke Braun always bringing the heat over on Locked On Vikings. That's each and every day. We'll be back tomorrow morning with our guy Arif Hassan. Another episode breaking it all down. This guy's Sam Ekstrom. He's hosting. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.